Welcome back to Totally Based. I'm Joey Gaskin, and today we're going to take a look at Candace Owens at TPUSA's Live Free Tour in New York. But before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on new content from me. Now let's get to it. Now let me start by saying I'm a little under the weather today, which is why I sound like this. So please forgive me. But I really want to jump into this. Candace Owens, she's fielding questions at this conference. And like always, she gave students an opportunity to come up and ask questions. Well, of course, she ran into some lefties who had to get some jabs in, and she didn't spare any punches herself. So let's take a look at things together. I'll give my reaction as we go along, and we'll have some fun. Let's do it.
All right, let's get started.
So my question isn't specifically about anything you really said tonight, although I don't really agree with anything you said.
Okay.
I'm proudly part of the LGBTQ community. I've always stood up for my community whenever I needed to. I want to focus specifically on, I've been listening to you for a little bit just to understand some things. A live stream you did about Pride Month in June on Facebook because you were no longer allowed on YouTube. The event that you were talking about, I actually had the honor of attending that event with a lot of my really close friends, and I found it very perplexing to me how you choose to only focus on the things that are negative when it comes to the queer community.
I'm sorry, when it comes to what community?
The queer community.
Okay.
Do you not realize that people like you and people like the people you're around and that, you know, continue to have this idea of us are the reason we feel that we have to be so openly proud of who we are? Your demented homophobic and transphobic rhetoric and rants just further prove our point that we have to fight loudly to be respected. The reason that LGBTQIA plus suicide rates are so high in this country isn't just because we're part of the community. It's because there are people like you who make us feel like we don't belong. The only LGBTQ agenda we have is
okay. Is there a question in there or a speech?
Yes.
You got to ask a question, buddy. I know you wrote this out in your notes, but ask a question. Let's go.
How do you think other people who, with your beliefs, respond to the fact that your hateful and harmful rhetoric costs the lives of queer children every single day, on average, every 45 seconds?
Okay, so this is just going to be a pure boogeyman. You're pretending that someone committed suicide because of Candace Owens. You've got no facts here. You're just going, it's your rhetoric that's causing all of this. When in reality, you want to talk about the tea. I sat down with a man named Walt Heyer who was convinced to chop his penis off after your community told him that there was something wrong with him because he had confusion. Why was he trans? Because he was molested when he was 4 years old by his uncle. Rather than being sat down and spoken to by a psychologist, he was handed hormone pills, and he eventually chopped off his penis. Walt Heyer is now 80 years old. He detransitioned, and he does a lot of work talking about why it is that he runs a charity, okay, an actual charity that is dedicated to sex change regret, of people who have changed their parts and can't go back. And you know what happens? Suicide rates go up after they transition. After they transition. And Candace Owens wasn't the one that chopped their dicks off. Great. Next question.
To the back of the line. Dang.
I mean, really, let's calm down. I just want to say, I am not the doctor who chopped off these people's penises. I am not the person that caused them to have that depression after they go through these transitions and can't just magically go back. So as I said, that is a complete, it's just creating an absolute straw man. Your rhetoric has done this. You have no idea what's going on in those individuals' lives and how they are being inspired to ruin their own lives. And so on my platform, I do host people that have sex change regret, and I speak to those individuals because the community needs to hear those stories before they make those same decisions and can't turn around. Plain and simple. Hello.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who actively feel victimized by your presence here today? Additionally, you just pointed out that this man detransitioned, but earlier in your speech...
Guys, I want to hear her. Go ahead. What do I have to say? Just the question, please. No speech. What is the question?
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who feel actively victimized by your presence here?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this. Next question. My goodness. Seriously, somebody just give out free hugs or something. Somebody give out free hugs. I can't be your mommy, okay? I'm too pregnant. I can't be your mommy. Next up.
As a non-binary person, what do you have to tell me about my identity? Because I know for a fact I'm not confused.
Okay, next question. Great statement. That's a statement. That's a statement. Okay? You know your identity. You're not confused. Congratulations, sweetheart. Thank you very much for your statement. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I was wondering where you got your statement, your statistic about people who transition, detransition, as well as that you are infertile after transitioning. Because I myself take hormones. I do testosterone injections, and I've gone through a lot of doctors, and none of them told me that was true.
Okay, so on my podcast, I actually cite all the sources. If you look up my name and my podcast, you can, I mean, it's in so many articles. And also, as I said, sexchangeregret.org actually lists all of these statistics with their sources. So obviously, I can't give you a hyperlink as I'm standing on the stage, but you can definitely find it on my podcast, and you can find it on sexchangeregret.com. Thank you for the question. That was, I think, the first question we got there. Hi.
According to Britannica, the definition of the nuclear family has expanded with the advent of same-sex marriage. Children in nuclear families may be couples' biological or adopted offspring. Does this mean that the merch you sell supporting, nuclear families means that you support trans couples adopting, gay couples adopting, and spreading this rhetoric that you talk about?
So you're talking about the expansion of definition. So right now they've expanded the definition of woman to include biological males. This gets back into what I was saying earlier about the left controlling linguistics and just pretending that, okay, a nuclear family can now be two trans parents that are adopting a child. That is not the nuclear family unit that I am talking about. I believe that I am talking about marriage between a male and a female, which naturally and biologically produces children. So no, I do not take that new updated definition of what it means to be a woman or what it means to be a nuclear family. Thank you for your question, though.
Hi, I've raised my hand before, so I just want to preface that I have opposite views, but I do want to have a genuine conversation without feeling belittled, so I do just want to preface that.
Yeah.
I am a feminist. I do study specifically academia and the structure of academia and what that looks like for people of color. So in relation to free speech, do you feel that free speech is free for everybody in terms of Western society and the America that we live in today, and at what point does free speech no longer become free?
What do you mean, at what point does it become no longer become free?
Some rhetoric can be harmful to other communities, especially in the way that it's spread in the media, and I think that goes for both sides. But
can you give me an example? It's always easier to answer a question.
So what I know we all are aware of what happened on campus last year.
I'm not.
Okay, great. Look it up. So it was just involving the feeling of LGBTQ members of the community feeling unsafe with rhetoric that's being shared in terms of transphobia.
If you're a man, I need an example, and someone, if you're a biological man and someone says, hey, what's up, dude?
More of there's students on campus that are living in communities where they don't feel safe because of rhetoric of explaining that transphobia isn't accepted. So my question is just how do you think free speech impacts everybody in communities?
Yeah, the idea that if somebody looks at a man and calls them a man, that they're suddenly unsafe because they've created a false reality in their own head. I don't abide by that. I think this is what's really happening is that we are celebrating mental disorders in America right now.
Really
I had a stalker, a very serious stalker at FBI, ended up getting involved, who had suffered from schizophrenia. He very much believed, and it was a terrifying thing to go through. He escaped the Psych 5150 hold, and he very much believed that he and I were in a relationship, and he would send me about 100 emails a day, okay? In the world of what you believe in your own head now needs to be accepted as reality, I would have had to marry him and raise my children with him, okay? But what was going on in his head wasn't actually reality. And me saying that this person needs to stay away from me and my family because there's something wrong with him and he was threatening to kill me if I didn't, raise my child with him, that was reality. That was something that had to be dealt with. So what's happened right now is the left is trying to make it seem that people who see reality for what it is are demented and are creating unsafe territory, and that's not the truth. In fact, what I think is unsafe territory is for people to be affirmed in their delusions.
Yes.
So I will never refer to a biological male as a female. And if that makes somebody feel unsafe, I'm not following you around. I don't know what happened on your campus. I wouldn't follow you around and say, hey, you're a male. Totally fine. Go live your life as you want to live your life. But when you say that the way that you live your life now has to impact me and I have to pretend that I see a woman when clearly you are a man, I shouldn't have to play that game.
Real talk.
That's all.
Real talk.
Thank you very much. Hi.
Hello, my question is a little bit of a different speed. Earlier today you mentioned Patricia Cullors or somebody from the BLM movement, and you said that her only qualifying factors for speaking about different things and issues was because she was black. And during the White House hearing about white supremacy, you was on that, and a question was asked whether white supremacy is a threat or not, and your only qualification to speaking on that was being black. So what do you say to people that say you're being a hypocrite?
Yeah, so I didn't say on this stage that Patricia's only qualification was being black. I said that people gave her tens of millions of dollars, had no idea where it was going to go, and were happy to do it because she was pirating. She just kept saying Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. It was stupid. They lost their money, bad investment. Oh well, too bad, so sad. Regarding qualifications to speak on what's harming Black America, you just have to be able to examine actual statistics, right? Are you telling me, would you honestly say that when you walked into this room today, you were afraid that white supremacy was going to kill you? I asked this to Black people, to be honest. Are you afraid that a Klansman is going to come down the street on horseback and pick you up? Be honest.
I'm personally not afraid.
Okay, so that's it. So when I was speaking at the congressional testimony, I was saying, my experience being black in America, I don't know any black people that are fearful to walk down the street because they think a Klansman's going to come get them, right? But I can list you tons of black people that grow up in poverty, that grow up in the hood, that grow up around gang culture, that are fearful. When you examine black on black crime rates, when I was just talking about illiteracy rates, I said that I could list 100 things the black community is suffering from today before I got to white supremacy, and yet the focus and the emphasis in the school system has been to brainwash us to believe that white people want to kill us around every single corner, and I think that that's a harmful ideology because it doesn't allow us to actually focus on the things that we're suffering from. You know, number one, I would say is father absence. Yeah. We need to get our families back together. We have to stop letting the government raise us.
I do believe, I agree with some of the things you just said, but at the end of your point, you just mentioned a father absence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And studies are actually shows that black men who are actually in their home participate with their children more than any other race.
Yeah.
So
great.
So what you just said is a fallacy then?
That's not a fallacy,
I'm
bro.
talking about when there's not a black father in the home, right? So every natural ill follows in the black community. So when you separate the black family, if you look at statistics between black families that are together and white families that are together, the poverty rate, I mean, they're both doing well. It's a 2-point difference between white and black families. When you remove and you break down the black family, it's unbelievable, right? It's a pathway to prison. It's a pathway to illiteracy. So I'm only talking about broken down black families. I'm not saying when the black family unit is together. That brings us back to the Winslows, Family Matters, and the greatest show that was ever on television. I do want to get to more people. I want to get to more people. Thank you so much for your question.
Cosby's, man. What about them?
Hey, how are you?
All right, how are you doing? Good evening. I have an article pulled up on my phone from May 27, 2023, and its title reads, Charlie Kirk's TPUSA teamed up with a registered sex offender. And if you just allow me 1 second, the TPUSA second annual Pastor Summit was partially funded by a known convicted pedophile, Sean Bergstrom. So would you feel comfortable of your children joining an organization in part funded by a convicted pedophile?
Okay, so first and foremost, I have no idea what you're talking about. You have the benefit of reading an article I've never heard of. I couldn't talk about that. Obviously, that's post when I used to work at Turning Point USA, so that's a better question that's being directed to their staff. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if it was a mistake. I don't know if what you're reading is fake news. What I will say is, to answer your question, would I ever want my child exposed to a pedophile or anything that was pedophile friendly?
Organization in part funded by a pedophile.
Yeah. I would guess, since you can be any person, and again, that could log on to the internet right now and donate 30.
Rolling Stone a part of the fake news or what?
Is what?
Rolling Stone?
Yes, Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones. Yes, Us Magazine and Rolling Stone are not a great source for media. I mean,
all these people trying to come up here with a got you.
Rolling Stone?
Down,
are you
bro.
kidding me? Come on, man.
Take a seat.
I was trying to answer your question. You then cut me off. What I was going to say to you is that what ends up happening when these people do hit pieces is, like, right now, if you want to go donate to, I don't know, any presidential campaign, Vivek Ramaswamy JFK, whoever you want to donate to. You can be a
JFK.
small pocket donor. You
RFK.
can give $20, and obviously there's going to be no background check done on you. Again, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just want to be clear.
Sponsor though, so if you want to address that, if you feel
I can't address that because I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't work for Turning Point USA.
Right.
So again, your question is better.
But you're on a stage right now behind the screen.
Speaking
Okay.
on issues that I care about, free market capitalism.
So do you stand against pedophilia or do you not?
I stand against pedophilia. I will say that 20,000 times.
Why are you speaking for an organization in part funded by
I'm
a
literally
pedophile?
saying I cannot speak on that because I have no idea what you're talking. Are you
Candace,
going to keep
tell him to go
asking me
take
to
a seat.
pretend that I know what you
I'd
found
love
in
an
Rolling
answer.
Stone? If
Because
I
this is a
bring up a
non-answer.
random
But I'd
article,
love an answer. Go ahead.
I have answered you 12 times. I will never support pedophilia ever in any capacity
So do you
whatsoever.
announce the funding
I-
to TPUSA?
If you're telling me TPUSA is being funded by pedophiles, all right, because you found it on Rolling Stone, okay? Of course, if that is the truth, which I have a feeling it's not, then I would openly denounce the funding of anything by a group of pedophiles, which is why I don't support.
So maybe don't support that organization. We're moving on.
I don't, this is such a sidebar.
Candace, get off my campus. Candace.
Okay, next.
Well, first of all, thank you for coming.
Okay, let's just give it a second so I can hear you. Guys, I just want to say this. If you're spending tens of thousands of dollars to attend this university to be led to believe that Rolling Stone is a good source of information, you need to get a refund ASAP.
He ain't spinning it, bro.
First of all,
He got
Hi.
loans.
hi. First of all, thank you for coming to the campus.
Thank
Second
you.
of all, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to your faith. As a Christian myself, I know you're a Christian. I saw the video you put up about the Christian debate with your husband and Ali B. Stuckey. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your faith and how that's kind of inspired you.
Yeah, so, well, you know then that I am sort of in between a rock and a hard place right now. I am Protestant. My husband is Catholic. I'm looking more at the Catholic faith for a lot of different reasons. First and foremost, because I do believe that males lead the household, and so my children are being raised Catholic right now. And so currently at our house, we go to 2 different churches, which is not ideal, but for holidays, we go to the Catholic Church. I was raised by my grandfather. He was by the book, when I say in terms of the Bible. The reason why he was never invested in secularism of any sort is because he thought that all of it was the devil. He was like that devout of a Christian. He didn't celebrate any holidays, and really kept to really just his faith and his family. And so I always say that I was very immersed in scripture when I was a child, and then I very much resented it once I got into school because it wasn't cool to be a person that read the Bible. It still isn't cool to be a person that has faith, especially if you're on a college campus. It's something that is looked down upon. And it's actually one of the pillars of leftism that I wish I had talked about tonight is atheism, which was also crucial to Marxist beliefs. You were not allowed to have faith if you lived in a socialist or a communist society because they wanted the government to become your God. They wanted you to believe in nothing else but the government. And you're seeing that take place today as atheism is being encouraged. And so as I began diving into politics and really seeing things that I believe are demonic, Satan is the author of lies and deception. I can think of no more cruel deception than to tell a boy that they're a girl, right, and to encourage them to mutilate their own bodies. So much of what I see today is satanic, and in essence, and it drew me back to my faith very quickly about 8 years ago, and just in helping to make sense of what's going on. The Bible is that resource. You are never going to learn more than when you read the Bible, when you
That's the
really
real
throw yourself
Constitution.
into that. And so even though right now I'm in between and learning more about the Catholic faith, there is no question that everything that I have, everything that I am is thanks to God putting me on this journey. Thank you so much.
A good question.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I've been
Hi.
wanting this for a while. So my name is Joshua. I am from Brentwood, New York. You guys should Google Joshua Chan, Brentwood, New York. Great person. I'm great. Anyway, so it's about health. I want to switch to healthcare. My favorite topic in the world. I love
What's
health.
that?
Healthcare.
Healthcare.
Okay.
Great.
Ms. Owens, I'd like to
Disaster.
begin by underscoring the importance of healthcare as a fundamental right. Many Americans, including working class white, black, Hispanic conservatives, believe that everyone should have access to quality healthcare without financial barriers. Additionally, as conservatives also prioritize fiscal responsibility, it's worth noting that the United States spends more money on healthcare than any developed nation, yet lags behind in health outcomes. It's a situation where it seems like we're paying too much and not getting enough in return. And this is the question now. Conservative healthcare policies have often emphasized individual choice and market-based solutions. However, it's been observed that private health insurance companies often prioritize profit margins over patient care and can lead to administrative efficiencies. In contrast, universal healthcare systems, as seen in many developed countries, not only ensure that healthcare is a human right for all, but also achieve a greater cost-effectiveness and efficiency. From a moral and fiscal standpoint, it's a compelling argument to eliminate the middleman, reduce administrative costs, and negotiate lower drug prices to make healthcare more accessible and affordable for all Americans. Lastly, no one in this room likes their health insurance company. No one. Essentially, especially when the health insurance companies deny care. People like their doctor.
Okay, I get it.
Last question. Sorry.
So,
how can conservative healthcare policies align with these moral principles of equity and compassion and ensure that everyone can access healthcare without financial hardship?
Okay. We're gonna do two more questions after this, maybe. Okay, that's a long one. Two more, guys. I'm sorry, we're not gonna be able to get to all of you. So, first and foremost, the healthcare system is an absolute disaster. I have an entire episode where I sat down with someone and discussed this. People wrongly believe that what's currently happening is our healthcare in America is an example of capitalism and the free markets. It absolutely is not. It is the exact opposite. The fact that you walk in to a clinic, you don't know what anything costs. You're essentially blindfolded. You go to the hospital and then you get a magical bill, and they say, "Oh, that Tylenol that you had, we didn't tell you it cost $400 for one tablet," is just completely wrong. America is not an example of free markets and being able to actually choose. So that is the first problem, is that the bureaucracies, everything behind it just needs to completely die. If we actually had a free market solution to healthcare, and it's interesting because I'm married to someone that's from the UK, where yes, they do have government-sponsored healthcare via the NHS, but it's a disaster, and they're all able to pay privately, and they're able to compete and give people the lower price. It's phenomenal. So an example of that Charlie Kirk always gives is LASIK surgery. Back when LASIK surgery was being covered by insurance, it was astronomical, the price to get your eyes fixed. And then insurance said, we'll no longer cover it. We consider it to be cosmetic. And now you can get your eyes fixed with LASIK for like $3,000. So it went from being $25,000 per eye to $3,000 because they allowed competition. Wow. So when health insurance companies were actually removed from the equation, it then became a free market environment, and doctors were going, okay, I'll compete, and here's how much I'm willing to do it for. So all of that needs to be disrupted so that doctors can actually compete for our dollars. And I think the health insurance companies are an absolute scam, and I hope that it collapses in the near future. So I'm trying to get two more questions. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I get it. But health, it's an important topic, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Oh, you're gonna, okay. Hi, I wanted to avoid kind of I feel like a lot of the questions have been, when did you stop beating your wife kind of things. But I wanted to ask, I feel like Republicans are very divided. While I was literally walking over here, they just voted to oust McCarthy from the speakership. And I think back to things like in 2020, the Republican platform was, just readopting the 2016 platform. So I was wondering how you felt about McCarthy being ousted, and second, what might be like three really specific policies or things you would want to see if there's a new Republican president?
New Republican president?
Or Republican Congress just in general.
So he didn't get ousted yet, right? Last I updated on, he did.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just found this out from you, because when we took off, I turned my phone off. I had no idea. Wow. That's really interesting. I would like to think about that before I answer it. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on it right now because I need to kind of process that. I mean, we've been kind of feeling that. You're exactly right. I feel like since Trump was in office that there has been this division in the Republican Party, which I will say on the whole is a good thing, because I think that what Trump said was right, and that very much it was becoming a swamp, and there was no difference between a Republican and a Democrat.
Right.
And with the MAGA movement, the swamp was disrupted in a very meaningful way. So having that dissent and not having everyone be in lockstep is fundamentally a good thing. How it's going to impact Congress and things of that nature, I actually need to think about. So I'm not going to answer that portion. Things that I would like to see implemented if we had a Republican president, the absolute abolition of the Department of Education. It has been an absolute disaster. Defund the Department of Education. And of course, a president is not a dictator, so assuming we have the House and the Senate and the presidency is kind of what I'm talking about. But yeah, that is the first thing I think that needs to be changed, is that so much of what we're suffering from is true ignorance, emotion, and very little facts behind the emotion. And if we can get people performing at the academic level of all of these other nations, it wouldn't be the circumstance. I would also like to see a complete abolition, and this kills people, of welfareism. I think that these welfare policies, people relying on the government, it's a new form of slavery. That would be something that I would focus on. And beyond that, Hungary is a great example right now of what happens when you put in place pro-family policies. You really study what Viktor Orban is doing in Hungary. It's absolutely incredible. They're like the odd man inside of the EU. Pro-family policies would be something as well. I am not interested in a Republican presidency that's just going to be focused on revenge. I think we actually need to have a vision about what we're trying to correct in America. So a couple of things, maybe not in a particular order, but that I would like to see. Thank you for your question, though. Right now I'm running after toddlers, so. Hey.
Hi. So you mentioned earlier about the importance of reading and how that helps people be more enlightened and speak and think more freely. What do you think about that when we're thinking about book bans happening in states like Florida?
So I want to be careful because now we're getting a lot of books, and I'm not sure that they are the books that should be in classrooms, like White Fragility, which they're passing around, which is just really state topics that are being implanted into people's head. I'm talking about, true education, like people actually learning hard academics and not fluffy ideologies. But what book ban are you talking about when they're banning like CRT?
I believe there's been a variety of books related to...
But they're not banning you from buying them. They're saying we're not going to have them in the school system.
Yes, at school,
totally
libraries,
fine.
and it's also with LGBTQ plus books and related topics.
For kindergartners, yeah. I think sexuality and little 5-year-olds don't mix. I think mommy and daddy... I think it's... My personal and honest opinion is that what is going to follow very closely behind transgenderism is pedophilia. There's absolutely no reason that there are teachers fighting to talk to 5-year-olds about their genitalia. It's sick, it's weird, teaching their colors and their numbers and to go home and love their parents. And if you show me a person that believes that they have a right to talk to my child about pedophilia, you're going to have a very upset Candace Owens, let me tell you, because that person is a pervert and they should not become within 10 feet of a child. Thank you for your question.
All right, so to get my quick reaction on this video so I don't have to croak through it anymore, I think Candace did an excellent job. She got up there and she told the truth. And these kids who are all butt hurting in their feelings, they just need to build a bridge and get over it. I will say I really did like the question from the kid about healthcare. I feel like we definitely need to reform the way that we do things. She's right. You go into the doctor and you don't know what you're paying. And the prices should be the same for everyone. And it should be an affordable price. How hard and how difficult is it really for that to be the case? Whereas most of these kids are really just trying to have got you moments with Candace, which is stupid because Candace, she does this on the daily. This is her job. Like, come on, fall back. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, you like the content that I'm bringing to you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in a future video. Peace.